Think before you sleep. Brittany Venti's fucking giga autistic, shut-in ex-fiance has uploaded yet another, I assume, grueling video. This time, uploading an hour-long video defending Tectone called What Dating an OnlyFans Girl is Like. Wow, cool, man. You're really awesome. So, let's take a look. Let's see what he's got to say. And hopefully, there's some fun to be had here.
Tectone went to court today, and he lost the court case against Pink Chew. Tectone, with his 5 lawyers, lost.
Is it going to be, actually, technically he didn't lose a court case. He lost a hearing.
She had 1, and she won. That's how bad it was. But
he didn't have 5 lawyers. He had 5 people on his legal team, but they weren't all lawyers.
the next 10 years, Tectone can't own guns and has to pay all of her attorney fees, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thanks, Miskiff. We can always trust you to report things accurately. In case you haven't heard, Twitch streamer Tectone and an ex-girlfriend of his who goes by Pink Chew have been in a legal battle after Pink Chew publicly accused Tectone of sexually assaulting her. Recently, Pink Chew filed for a protective order, which is to prevent stalking and harassment, and Tectone lost a motion to get it dismissed. Now, before we get into all this...
Notice how I'm saying your list of facts in a funny voice, checkmate. No, I said it in the voice he says it in, I'm pretty sure.
Let me just say that I'm her. Recently, Pink Chew filed for a protective order, which is to prevent stalking and harassment, and Tectone lost a motion to get it dismissed. Now, before we get into all this, let me just say that I'm not even remotely neutral on whose side I'm on. I started out neutral. I started out with the mindset of, let's take a look at the facts of the case. Maybe there's some nuance here. Maybe both parties did something bad at certain points. Usually that's how relationships in particular work. But my mind changed when I began researching, and I think after you guys watching the details,
in particular, giga autist,
you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, which is that this is a massive failure of the justice system, which is why this video is a defense of Tectone. It's about how, in my opinion, none of the assault allegations were true, and it's about how this whole situation was a coordinated effort from multiple streamers to ruin his career. That being said, Tectone, or John, is a popular Twitch streamer who started out by playing gacha games.
I played Genshin Impact, so you don't have to. So it's Breath of the Wild, but worse, but with waifus. Also, be careful of shit-talking Paimon's English voice acting.
More recently, Tectone is known for calling out how entitled the least talented video game voice actors are, and for helping expose Hasan.
Now he's known for being hacking-based and calling out the transgenders and Hasan. And calling out the transgenders and Hasan. Because he's so hacking-based.
As an animal abuser. And this is Pink Chew.
Hey, officer, you ever realize how hard it is to say rough 2 times in a row?
Rough?
Good boy.
Well, that was cringe. Anyway, Pink Chew, who also goes by her middle name Ashley, is an OnlyFans creator who's achieved success after getting a very noticeable amount of plastic surgery, followed by a generous use of photo editing tools. I mean, this is an insane amount of catfishing. I'm not even looking at the same person when I compare a live stream to a photo of her. Which brings us to November...
Is it your first day online? Brother, take a look at your ex-fiancé.
20th, 2024, where Pink Chew goes on an alternate account to make a post accusing someone of forcing her into oral sex. And everyone immediately assumed that she was talking about Tectone.
If you can believe it, Tectone actually is a piece of shit. His ex-girlfriend, Pinky Chew, she's come out to speak about his sexual assault against her. How do you know that she's referring to Tectone? Because it's on LSF and they're not following each other anymore.
She's referring to this live stream fails post from an anonymous account announcing that Pink Chew was referring to Tectone. I mean, there were also obvious context clues like saying they live together. And who posts something to a public forum if they believe that the audience isn't going to know who they're talking about? So let's be clear, everybody on the internet knew this was Tectone despite her not saying his name in the post. So obviously Tectone had to respond, and he did so at first by not specifically naming who he was talking about.
So if you're confused, you're going to stay confused. Because this shit is not about content for me. Okay? I know the person who needs to hear this is going to hear this. And I mean this genuinely. I did everything for you. I helped you with everything. I fixed everything for you. I was there for you like nobody else.
Yeah, this sounds like an accurate summary of the relationship. Yeah, when I hear someone do this, when someone gets accused of SA and their response is, I did everything for you, that makes me think innocent. You can tell Think Before You Sleep is not on the spectrum at all. You can tell this guy doesn't have difficulty reading people whatsoever.
Else was there for you in your whole life.
The
Your
relationship
words, not
understander has logged on.
Now, he does sound pretty mad here, which is why people such as Denims interpreted this as a definite confirmation that he was an abuser.
Your words, not mine.
Oh my God, he even talks like an abuser. Holy shit.
Very glad
Thank you.
Tectone is
Okay, that wasn't... she might say something else here, but that wasn't saying that it's confirmed he's an abuser. That is talking like an abuser. 100%.
such a
Generous of you.
dumbass that he doesn't realize how bad this makes him look.
Well, yeah, the problem is that he has an inflated ego and he's stupid, which is like a horrible combination to have.
Well, that was the
So she actually didn't say he was guilty there. She said he talks like an abuser, and that absolutely is talking like an abuser.
projection of the century. And though maybe that video out of context was a bad look for Tectone, trust me, as we go over the court transcript, not Mizkiv's transcript that his idiot friend wrote, I mean the actual court transcripts. So when we go over the real transcript, you're going to understand why Tectone was a little
Bro, Mizkiv
angry
went over both. What do you mean, retard?
there. In fact, I think he was quite polite. That transcript
That aired before the official transcripts were out, before it was done.
infuriating, knowing that it was used to take someone's First and Second Amendment rights away for 10 years. Anyway, on November 22nd,
God bless.
2024, 2 days after Pink Chu makes her allegations, Tectone confirms on Twitter that Pink Chu was talking about him. He says that she has 2 weeks to apologize and admit that her allegations were false, or he will sue her for what I imagine was defamation, citing that he will also pursue legal action against those
where
who
is that?
knowingly repeat her lies with reckless disregard for the
So
truth.
where is that?
Tectone goes on to say that he's
Where
willing
is
to
that?
work
I've called
with
this guy a rapist like 600 times. Where is that?
law enforcement and is ready to prove his innocence. And then Keemstar comments with some words of wisdom at the end. Which brings us to Travis County in Texas on January 23rd of 2026, and a hearing for a protective order filed by that's Pink Chu.
Oh my god, I'm fucking retarded. I took my fucking foot off the gas, dude. I'm fucking retarded.
I'm not going live
We
and
have to
being
go back
not
to censor
strategic
that.
with my words and my actions. I'm being smart.
Right. Miskiff sent a friend of his to go to court and take notes on the day of the hearing. Seems like the information wasn't very accurate. So Tectone's one lawyer is Joffrey Purrier, a guy with an enviable jawline, and Pink Chu's lawyer is Michelle Locke, an aspiring self-help influencer.
Life is a journey. Life has ups and downs.
Very insightful words of wisdom. Last, the case is being heard by Judge Dimple Malhotra. Just for clarification, this is a civil case. Conveniently, a lot of these types of allegations seem to be tried in civil courts, probably because the
Yeah, and if you didn't know, the lawyer's a woman. The lawyer's a woman and she's got a social media account. Stupid bitch. Nice one, bro. These videos are always so high level. My favorite Think Before You Sleep video is when he vehemently argues that Noah Samson has cut a screenshot of Ethan Klein out to make it look like he's doing a Nazi salute over the top of Gaza, when really all Noah Samson did was take the content nuke thumbnail and take the Ethan picture from that and put it over the top of Gaza. But Noah Samson argued that, Think Before You Sleep argued that Noah Samson was trying to call Ethan a Nazi by fake portraying him as doing a Nazi salute, slandering him. And he tried to actually argue this and had to be like totally beaten down on it.
burden of proof there is much lower than in criminal courts.
I want you to understand something, chat. That the judge agreed with that. Now, the judge was not empowered to put him in prison
Noah don't got game like that. That's not how Noah rolls.
directly, because that was not a criminal
Noah would never
case.
do that.
Had it been a criminal case, and had he been given a bench trial, he would have gone to prison as a rapist right then.
God, these idiots are annoying. For those of you who don't know, Mike from PA is the guy who pretended to be a licensed attorney to run for the Pennsylvania legislature, but the state Supreme Court kicked him off the ballot after they found him misrepresenting himself.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what this retard says, Mike from PA. Who gives a shit?
Now he's pretending to be an authority on the law on Twitch. Spoilers, most of the law influencers get shit wrong all the time, and they aren't really that trustworthy. Anyway, in reality, there was a police investigation, but it didn't go anywhere, let alone prosecute. So Pink Chu claimed that she would put a pause on pressing criminal charges because she was afraid of Tectone retaliating, which
What do you mean it didn't go anywhere? She said she suspended the investigation. She suspended it. She suspended it because she didn't want to do this cool, trying to basically get Tectone to, like, admit stuff on cool.
Pink Chu claimed that she would be. There was a police investigation, but it didn't go anywhere, let alone prosecute. So Pink Chu claimed that she would put a pause on pressing criminal charges because she was afraid of Tectone retaliating, which I don't believe because he publicly said he would cooperate with the police. And also, if Pink Chu was actually afraid, she wouldn't have continued to attack Tectone legally. Personally, I think the
But just because he would cooperate with the police doesn't mean he wouldn't attack her. And obviously he's going to say, I'll cooperate with the police. I'm not going to say shit that's antagonistic towards law enforcement when he's trying to interface with it. How retarded are you, dude?
The reason that a protective order was filed is because
Dude, this is literally, this is so bad already. This is literally so low effort. How is this guy so autistic and so dumb, dude? His videos are so bad. And then you get these low IQ fucks like VVV and Spicy that's like, oh yeah, these videos are actually, he actually makes really good defense videos. He actually makes really good, debunking lefties. What's the debunking lefties? Hasan bad and Japan has fallen.
Legally. Personally, I think the only reason that a protective order was filed is because she wants to attack him, and there's no way in hell that she would have won a criminal case. Now, just so it's less confusing, and because there's no video of this hearing, as we go over the transcript, I'll put pictures on the side of who is talking. That being said, Pink Shoe's lawyer starts her opening statement by blaming Pink Shoe's lack of evidence to corroborate her story on the fact that she's autistic. Pink Shoe's primary argument here is that, as a person who was nearly 30 at the time, she didn't realize that she was being abused until someone else told her, because she's very slightly autistic. What, did they take that argument from TikTok? So anyway, you know, if they're...
Dude, obviously they bring up these factors when they're making a case in court. What do you mean, dude? If she's got an autism diagnosis, they're gonna make the case with that in court. That's obvious. That's obviously what's gonna happen. Dude, this guy is like legitimately retarded.
There's like a mountain of evidence showing that this was all consensual. Well, just ignore...
Yeah, unlike everyone else who instantaneously, you know, most people have one view of every relationship in their life that they instantly get the moment that relationship starts, and it never shifts or adjusts over time. And there's actually no way to ever introspect more on what a relationship meant to you or how it felt.
Or that because Pink Chu changed her mind after the breakup and after Tectone got into a relationship with a different woman. What a convenient set of circumstances. That being said, let's go to the first allegation of assault. Pink Chu said that she had recently gotten breast implants, so this is a plastic surgery related allegation. Now, I'm going to redact some of this information to make it YouTube safe, but the page numbers are all there, so you can just look it up for yourself. Basically, the allegation was that Pink Chu could not perform because of her recent surgery, so Tectone found other non-consensual means. Allegedly.
Much love to this queen. I mean, seriously, I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that and then probably get traumatized altogether one more time.
Dude, literally, this is what it's all about. He's just seething at fucking Hasan. That's what all of this is about every time, man.
I'm in the court process, but at least now you have a moment of respite.
To further elaborate on the context here, Pink Chu testifies that she had been living with Tectone in exchange for sexual favors. Personally, I don't believe this version of the story at all. After reading through the transcript, it is very clear to me that they were living together because they were in a relationship. For reference, Pink Chu and Tectone's relationship started in December of 2022.
But they weren't in like a full-blown like committed relationship the whole time. They say in the transcript there are periods of friends with benefits, which she says isn't a term that she's used before, but Tectone introduced it.
And they broke up around June or July of 2024. About a month later, in July or August, Tectone meets his now fiancée, Sophia, and a few months later, in November, Pink Chu accuses Tectone of sexual assault. Which brings us to the second allegation. Again, pictures are here to indicate who is in the conversation. If you see a Q, though, that means a lawyer is talking, and if you see an A, that's going to be either Tectone or Pink Chu talking. Anyway, Pink Chu said that she had just gotten lip filler, and Tectone had forced her into oral sex, which had ruined the lip filler. Geez, another plastic surgery-related incident? Do all of her allegations have some sort of plastic surgery involved? Now, is there any corroborating evidence that this happened? Not really. There may have been a doctor's appointment where she had to get the lip filler fixed. However, that doesn't prove anything because she could have just as easily screwed up the filler through regular consensual activity.
It doesn't prove it, but it's evidence that supports it. It's called contemporaneous evidence. Think before you sleep. Dude, it's so crazy. I don't understand how people get away with this. Nothing here says it's proven. Nobody is saying it's proven. The court finding is reasonable grounds to believe. Some people misinterpret and say he's civilly liable or preponderance of evidence. Neither of those are true. But there is evidence there, and it is a reasonable conclusion to draw that he raped. Now, it may also be reasonable to conclude that he didn't rape. I don't think so, if you actually look at the way he's acted, personally. But it may be, under the ruling. Nobody is saying this is dead to rights proof. This transcript is not dead to rights proof. Contemporaneous evidence is evidence, but it's not proof. I don't understand how so many people get away with the constant conflation and, like, the cop game with evidence and proof. Like, yeah, that's not proof, but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything. Obviously, it means something. Obviously, it has some relevance. It is contemporaneous evidence. It's something that happened at the time that supports this narrative.
Or something else entirely. But these are pretty much the allegations of assault. Now, when I say that Pink Chu had no evidence of this stuff occurring, understand that her own testimony counts as evidence from a legal standpoint. So allow me to clarify what I mean. I'm saying she had no additional evidence to verify the truth of her story. And let me point out just how ridiculous this is. Tectone is a guy who is constantly on camera.
There's like a good 8 to 10 people who have already said, he didn't do it. We know he didn't do it. We were there when they said it happened. That never happened. They say there's a third girl. They don't exist. They don't realize.
Dude, in which story were there other people present?
That the entirety of, a large portion of my house is fucking filmed on the inside. I have security cameras on the inside. That's how fucking paranoid I am.
This is a guy who streams for multiple hours a day, plus
Then you should have been able to... Then where was the footage of the instances that she describes on that date? Surely you could just prove this, no? If you have all these security cameras, surely you can just grab the footage of that instance and show that you didn't do what she said you did. But there are no stories that she's told where there are witnesses. But obviously, Think Before You Sleep is not going to call out the obvious fucking inconsistencies and lies that Tectone tells.
the couple of streams that he did with Pink Chu. You're going to tell me that you have no footage, no audio recordings, and no text that make him look abusive or make him look like a stalker?
Dude, literally every moment he's on stream.
Also have no testimony from other witnesses saying that Tectone was abusing you? This is despite the fact that there were 2 roommates living with them the entire time. So either Tectone is this master manipulator who can get away with all of this without a trace, which is a weird thing to argue because his opposition is constantly calling him stupid.
When he's literally the I don't know how anyone fucking ever listened to this guy.
He's dumb as fuck. I honestly think he needs to be arrested just so he can experience what that is like. So
guys, it is literally, this is crazy. It is actually seething over the lefties. That's all it is. Again, this guy's channel is so retarded and predictable. This guy is the dumbest lowlife alive. I would do anything to speak to this fucking retard.
he shuts the fuck up and goes away.
I genuinely don't understand how someone could be so fucking stupid to think that this is a good response.
So either he is this master manipulator who can fool anyone, or none of this shit happened, in my opinion. On that note, Pink Chu's lawyer has finished questioning.
It does not take a master manipulator to just not admit to rape on text. Don't admit to rape on text. When she goes to her friend and says she feels assaulted, get her to write you a text saying, "No, I actually really like having sex with you." Wow, this is really high level manipulation. This is elite, bro.
Her client.
Didn't fool the court though, did it?
Let's go to cross-examination from Tectone's lawyer, Joffrey. Before we get into this, though, it requires some backstory. For those of you who didn't know, Tectone was previously married for like 10 years to a woman whose name is Jessica. They divorced a while back. Now, to me, the details here are kind of murky because an NDA was signed, and I only really have the court transcript to piece together what was going on. But remember how I said that Tectone has cameras everywhere? Well, it turns out that his ex-wife still had remote access to the cameras after the divorce, and allegedly, she was using some intimate footage between Tectone and Pink Chu to blackmail them. And how this didn't land his ex-wife in jail is beyond me. Anyway, a lawsuit was filed.
Wow, why don't you think about that for a moment? Why don't you think about that? Huh. Yeah, you'd think that all happened like over text and there were like logs of her downloading the videos probably, like this all done electronically. Huh. Yeah, how didn't that land her in jail? How didn't she? Because that would be like very easily provable, wouldn't it? If she was like blackmailing.
And a part of this lawsuit included Pink Chu suing Tectone's ex-wife because she called her Tectone's sex slave. Let me repeat this. Pink Chu sued his ex-wife because she accused her of being victimized by Tectone. Pink Chu said it was defamatory to call her an abuse victim. Not only that, but this lawsuit occurs 1 month after her alleged incidents of abuse, and she says these claims about her from Tectone's ex-wife were disgusting lies. What a weird thing to say, right? So that's our first counter to Pink Chu's story, and just right there.
Yeah, that no reason why she might be saying that. Absolutely no reason, no ulterior motive. It's not like she's just broken her lease to move in with the guy or anything. It's not like she's broken her lease to move in with the guy and he's holding her place to live over her head.
Throw the case out. You mean to tell me that someone called her an abuse victim and she spent money suing them to say, no, I'm not? The second part of this is that Pink Chu went to a mental hospital in July of 2024, around 1 to 2 months.
Yeah, that does seem weird, doesn't it? Really? She was so upset about this woman saying she was an abuse victim, that she sued her, she tried to sue over it. Dude, that is weird, isn't it? Oh, well, no reason to think about that any deeper.
After the alleged victimizations, when she's being questioned by her lawyer, she states that she went to the hospital because she just had to get out of the house. And if your first thought was, that makes no sense, then I would agree with you. This sounds like a lie. Now, I'm not a fan of Illymation, but I do think she has a very insightful video on mental hospitals. People don't go to mental hospitals just because they wanted to get out of the house. They go because they're either a danger to others or they're afraid of harming themselves.
Facilities like this save lives every day. There are 2 types of admission. The first is voluntary, which is where you go to the emergency room and say, hi, I don't feel safe. Can you please help me? And the second is involuntary.
I don't even know what you're trying to say here. Hey, I have a question. You feel like it was up to her to prove with people that live there, right? But wouldn't the same matter for Tectone? If he had people living there who could. What the fuck does that mean, dude?
Voluntary, which is where your doctor or psychiatrist feels you're at grave risk to yourself or others. So they write you a note and send you to the hospital.
So it's a weird downplay from Pink Chu to say that she just needed to get out of the house. If she wanted to do that, she could have just checked herself into a hotel or something. Note that Pink Chu has more than enough money to do this. Also note that this admission into a mental hospital seems to have happened directly after Tectone broke up with her, so I'm guessing that the breakup caused thoughts of self-harm. Actually, it looks like the redactions here suggest something a little bit worse than self-harm. So honestly, I think checking herself into the mental hospital was a psychologically healthy thing to do. However, the issue with this hospital visit is that it works as evidence against her story of abuse. Let me start by saying that when she's being questioned by her lawyer, Pink Chu said that after she got back from Austin Oaks, the mental hospital, she moved in with her mom, but as she was getting her stuff from Tectone's house, she told a roommate of his about how afraid she was of Tectone. Now, anytime you go to the hospital or see a doctor, they're going to ask you...
So let's just go over, like, the hospital asking, like, why you sexually abused and all this shit. Her saying no. But yeah, when she's literally just left the relationship, and she doesn't know, like, what's going to be reported to who. You know, she doesn't want to necessarily start a police thing. She doesn't know how far it's going to go. Yeah, she's probably a bit cagey about saying anything, because she's literally just leaving the situation in that moment. Like quite common.
Why are you here? Surely if Tectone was so abusive that she just had to get out of the house, and she had to tell his roommate how afraid she was.
No, actually, everyone knows exactly when they're abused. How could you not know you're being abused? They're literally punching you. You know, I fucking love Star Trek. Dude, Spock's the coolest character ever.
Would have also told the doctors, well, you see, I have this really abusive ex-boyfriend. But she didn't do that. In fact, the doctors specifically asked her if she had been a victim of abuse. Pink Chu says yes, but she doesn't mention Tectone. She mentions a prior non-Tectone relationship, and that's it. Keep in mind that the time period where she is alleging the abuse happened was 1 or 2 months before she goes to the mental hospital in July. Also keep in mind that Pink Chu was 1 and that's it. Keep in mind that the time period where she is alleging the abuse happened was 1 or 2 months before she goes to the mental hospital in July. Also keep in mind that Pink Chu testified that she told Tectone's roommate 3 or so days after this questioning from the mental hospital, or around the same time, that she was afraid
this guy is actually more successful just a robot, that is facts.
Of Tectone, noting that his roommate did not come in to testify on her behalf. She can't even get that corroborated. So I don't see how this can be considered as anything other than crucial evidence that Pink Chu is making all of these allegations up. Now, her argument for one time that she was afraid of Tectone, noting that his roommate did not come in to testify on her behalf. She can't even get that corroborated. So I don't see how this can be considered as anything other than crucial evidence that Pink Chu is making all of these allegations up. Now, her argument...
She couldn't get one of Tectone's friends to come in and corroborate? Wow, crazy.
For why she didn't report to the mental hospital that she had been assaulted by Tectone is because she just didn't see it that way at the time. But again, immediately after she gets out of the hospital to collect her stuff, she tells Tectone's roommate about how scared she is. Conveniently, this change of story happens in a place where it couldn't be documented as evidence. Because, you know, if you were an abuse victim who is fleeing your house because you're afraid of your ex-boyfriend, certainly you would want to tell medical staff later so it could be used as evidence in a police investigation. This is why I don't believe anything that Pink Chu says.
Wait, what?
There are tons of holes in her story.
So because she doesn't report on the initial intake to the mental hospital and instead comes to the conclusion it was abuse while in the mental hospital, she must be lying. We can't think of any other plausible explanations here. No? Are you fucking retarded? I know he's retarded. I know he has a mental disability. I don't know why I'm even asking that. He obviously has a mental disability. He's obviously on the spectrum, severely. He's obviously a disabled guy. So it feels stupid even trying to argue sometimes. Because it's like, he is either lying or actually literally disabled, and quite possibly both.
And really nothing to defend her outside of taking her word for it. But that's not all. Before Pink Chu...
I think people like think before you sleep.
Okay, I disavow that Dino message.
...goes to the mental hospital, there are text messages between her and Tectone, where Tectone, or John, says, "Text me when you're on your way, and please be safe." And then she tells him what hospital she's going to be at. He also says, "If you need me, just text me. I'm sorry you're going through this." So when I read stuff like that, I think, wow, there was so much documented evidence of Tectone being supportive, but when it comes to him being abusive, you just have to take people's...
Okay. Dude, oh, wait. Is it the same retarded legal mindset argument? Oh my god.
I'm sorry you're going through this. So when I read stuff like that, I think, wow, there was so much documented evidence of Tectone being supportive, but when it comes to him being abusive, you just have to take people's word for it. Isn't that odd? This is like no case of abuse that I've ever seen. Abusive people usually leave evidence everywhere because they can't help themselves. We're not done yet. Pink Chu and Tectone's lawyer Joffrey discuss her leaving the mental hospital, and there's this part where Joffrey says, in fact, I believe he's listed, and the rest is blacked out. Judging by the context clues, I'm guessing that he's saying that Tectone was listed as an emergency contact, considering that Tectone says stuff like, "If you need anything, let me know," and Pink Chu told him what hospital she was going to be at. So again, extremely weird behavior here, especially considering that Pink Chu communicates that her mom lives somewhere in the area. So why is she using her alleged abuser that she's afraid of as a contact instead of her mom? Moving on, let's talk about why a protection order was granted. In Texas, in order to get a protection order, the state...
It's like such a... like legit, the most autistic reading ever. If this guy was abusing you, why'd you give his contact information to the hospital? Because they were in a relationship, and while she may have felt some underlying fear, there were a lot of other emotions going on at the same time, and these things aren't often black and white, especially not your perception of them immediately.
Standard of proof is reasonable to believe. This is kind of a major issue for me when it comes to family court, and I think the law around this needs to be modified to prevent abuse, especially in cases like Tectone's, where there is tons of counter evidence to his accuser's story. Reasonable to believe is a very low standard. It's like saying if one person thinks, yeah, that could have happened, that's enough to grant an order in Texas. This standard is even
it's a reasonable conclusion.
Lower than the more likely than not to have happened.
Not just someone thinks it happened. It's a reasonable conclusion.
Standard, which is what we're all used to hearing about in civil court cases.
This is in Texas. I want to say this again. This is not California. This is not New York. This is not Illinois. This is not Massachusetts. This is Texas.
He's implying that it's impossible to get an order of protection in Texas when actually it seems to be fairly easy. Here's Michelle Locke, Pink Chu's lawyer, on her podcast saying that the standard of proof in these kinds of courts is very low.
When it comes to marriage and there are abusive instances, how important is it for someone to have that documented?
Your testimony alone can be enough. And people think, well, really? I don't have to have pictures or bruises? I mean, while those things would be great and helpful, it's not a requirement because judges every day make decisions based on the credibility of witnesses. And that's the bottom line. And so the court's going to look at what you say, what he or she says, and then make the call on whether it's a believable story.
Let me remind you that Mike from PA is not a lawyer. He's an idiot propagandist who really seems to have his own boundary issues with women. Just because guns are more legal in Texas doesn't mean that this state always favors the right. A lot of bullshit occurs in Texas, too.
Mike touching some woman's shoulder in a really, well, Bad Bunny's shoulder in a really awkward and embarrassing way. It's actually the exact same as forcibly making a woman perform oral sex on you. Those are actually just as bad. They both have boundary issues, guys. Come on. They both have boundary issues, guys.
Also, this legal battle between Pink Chew and Tectone occurred in
very
Travis
close,
County,
but not the
which
same.
is where Austin is. Austin
Very
is
close
like
because it's Mike doing it.
the California of Texas.
But then you have to like equal stat. You have to say it's Tectone doing it on the other side.
Yes.
You know?
But anyway, Pink Chew still has to prove that there is some sort of reason to believe that Tectone will be a danger to her. Before we go into this next section, I would like to point out that neither Michelle Locke or the judge really have a grasp over how social media works. Pink Chew's lawyer Michelle said in the transcripts that she doesn't really understand social media, and in this video that I found of the judge, she openly states that she doesn't really have an interest in being online.
And so for me, I didn't even have social media, by the way, until I knew that I had to run.
Okay, so this is very important because essentially all of Pink Chew's evidence for why she needs an order of protection and why Tectone is an ongoing threat is because of his social media posts. And if you as a judge don't understand social media, you're going to miss a ton of nuance. It's actually to the point where this court decision is...
This woman said she's not very online, so she can't be the judge. Dude, what is this fucking video? This sucks.
Quite scary and possibly a strong violation of the First Amendment. Personally, I think Pink Chew has taken advantage of the judge's lack of knowledge of social media and using that to lie. To talk about that, let's go to Exhibit 16, I think. This post from Tectone is still live, so I'll just show the actual tweet. It says, another OnlyFans woman lying about rape, then just moves on. No damage done to them. Ruin a man's life for 3 years. Why is this so common? This is from October 21st of 2025, nearly a year after Tectone was accused, and he's signal boosting a post talking about a friend of his from OTK, who I guess was falsely accused. I don't know that situation too well, but that's what's being talked about. Pink Chew says that she believes that the tweet was about her, and then she says that Tectone makes posts like this to try to get his fans to attack her because she does OnlyFans, which is retarded because if you look at the comments on the tweet, you can see that people aren't talking about Pink Chew. You can't even find her name by doing a text search on the page. In fact, you can't see this in the court transcript.
It's obviously subtweeting and building up the story. It's obviously subtweeting and building up the narrative. That's obviously the point that's being made here, you fucking inbred.
But since this tweet is still live, we know who Tectone is referring to in this tweet because he's quote tweeted a post talking about Azalea Lexi.
He's obviously not talking about her because he's quote tweeting someone else.
So how in the hell is this comment about Pink Chew?
Prison for this guy. Prison for this guy.
By the way, this is in stark difference to her allegation post, where the top comment essentially is saying, hey, you're talking about Tectone, right? The irony here is that Pink Chew herself made the argument in court that people wouldn't know who she's talking about because Tectone's name wasn't mentioned in her tweet. But if you know anything about the internet, the minute you start vague posting like this, tons of people in the comments are going to start asking, oh my god, who's she talking about? Which will prompt all the know-it-alls to try to be the first person to say that it's Tectone. In fact, here's me doing this with the false allegations against Turkey Tom. You can see that I don't mention Tom in the post. People are asking who I'm talking about, and if you scroll through the comments, you can see several people explaining the reference. This is not like a secret behavior that people have. Anytime some sort of inside joke or a test question is posted on social media, tons of people go to the comment section looking for the person who will explain everything. So in my opinion, Pink Chew left Tectone's name out of this post to prevent a defamation lawsuit, but left in enough clues for people to easily figure out.
There's no way. There's no way he's saying this. There's no fucking way. Start of the video.
All these YouTube lawyers have no idea what they're talking about. You shouldn't listen to anyone's legal opinion on the internet. Anyway, you can't be sued for defamation if you don't say their name.
This guy needs re-education.
Who she was talking about, so her followers would say who it was for her. If she only wanted her friends to know about these allegations like she said in court, she wouldn't have posted it on social media. Anyway,
give him to G. Give him to G.
Here's where it gets scary. Remember that the order of protection was granted, meaning that
Tectone is
not allowed to talk about Pink Chew. Her evidence that this tweet was about her was purely on the basis of Tectone bringing up OnlyFans, and because she does OnlyFans. She actually makes this argument several times. Here's another one. Exhibit 20. This tweet is also still alive, so I'll just bring it up. He's asking for OnlyFans models to stop giving life advice because you can see them naked for less than a Fortnite battle pass.
Where's her dignity? Oh, I don't know. I heard she's selling it for $5.
This is another post where if you scroll down, you can see that nobody is talking about Pink Chew, yet she is suggesting that these posts are targeted at her and designed to train Tectone's audience into hating her. Now, if you were a judge who doesn't use social media that much...
Well, they are. That is what he's doing. That's why he sees about OnlyFans women so much now. Because he actually initially encouraged Pink to start OnlyFans. But obviously, the reason he goes after OnlyFans people so much now is because Pink does OnlyFans, so he can tell us what to go after them. And Dennis does OnlyFans, so he, and they're friends, I believe. So it's like everything falls into place.
And Tectone's audience into hating her. Now, if you were a judge who doesn't use social media that much, you would think, oh, well, that makes sense. Obviously, he's only mentioning OnlyFans.
Think Before You Sleep is actually worse than Rob's Media. I actually genuinely, I prefer Rob's Media to Think Before You Sleep. Rob's Media, as much as he's like a Nick the Oreo cocksleeve, retard, there's a little bit of charm to his autism. There's a little bit of charm to his autism. There's no charm to Think Before You Sleep's autism. He's just like the most perverted loser going.
Because Pink Chew does OnlyFans. Why would anybody else talk about that? Except talking about OnlyFans girls is an entire meta of content creation that has existed for years. And I don't know, maybe it has something to do with people like Morgpie trying to bend Twitch's rules so she can show her boobs to 13-year-olds and try to get them addicted to pornography. Maybe some of these women deserve to be criticized, so citing these posts as threats and possibly suggesting that Tectone can never talk about OnlyFans because of the order of protection, I think is a massive violation of the First Amendment. Second, in the same way that she cites these posts about OF, she also cites Tectone talking about illegal aliens as a threat towards her, saying, well, I'm half Mexican, so I'm almost a minority, and that means he's victimizing me with these posts. If this type of post counts as talking about Pink Chew, then Tectone, as a social media influencer, can't talk about the most pressing issues of the past year because his ex-girlfriend is half Mexican? This is very stupid. She continues, and I think this is the most ridiculous part, and I think it's where she takes the most advantage of the judge's ignorance of social media. She says that Tectone makes call-out videos on certain influencers. These kinds of videos, by the way, are extremely common on YouTube. I mean, this reads like she's suggesting that YouTube drama should be illegal. She says here that if a protective order isn't granted, then he will continue relentlessly harassing and threatening her to the point where her life will be in danger. This is absolutely ridiculous. Over the past
he's going to continue as he's shown before, relentlessly threatening and harassing me to the point where I'll probably have to take measures. My life may be in danger. Okay. Yeah, and? She's worried he might show up or that he might send someone to show up. Yeah, he could put her in danger or in fear for her life. Yeah.
Handful of days, Tectone and Miskiff have made like 18 videos on each other. By her logic, you would think that both of them would have been dead 10 times over by now. Keep in mind that between the breakup in July and the time that Pink Chew made her allegations on November 20th, 2024, I can't find a single instance where Pink Chew's name is mentioned by Tectone.
Dude, there's no way he's taking it to be that the entire basis for the protective order is that Tectone makes YouTube call-out videos. That's like what he's claiming the argument is here.
Ridiculous. Over the past handful of days, Tectone and Miskiff have made like 18 videos on each other. By her logic, you would think that both of them would have been dead 10 times over by now. Keep in mind that between the breakup in July and the time that Pink Chew made her allegations on November 20th, 2024, I can't find a single instance where Pink Chew's name is mentioned by Tectone, and she certainly doesn't provide any mentions outside of his post on November 22nd. And keep the context here in mind. Tectone and Pink Chew break up. Tectone is silent about Pink Chew until she accuses him of assault. Then Tectone makes a post saying, I'm going to sue you if you don't apologize. In this context, he's just defending himself. Like he is being legally punished here for defending himself against allegations that had no corroborating evidence.
I think this is the main reason why Tectone has become so extreme. And whenever you think about it, really calling somebody a rapist is one of like the top 3 things that you can say to somebody that is career destroying, career ending, or damaging.
Right, that's a career ending allegation. And during the court case, Tectone said that he was dropped from his partnership with OTK almost immediately after Pink Chew's allegations. By the way, if you're thinking she must be the innocent party because she filed for the protective order, note that protective orders get abused actually quite a lot. In fact, if you watched my video on Alexa Nicholas, who was falsely accused of leaking sealed court documents by a good friend of Taylor Lorenz, you would know that she mentioned that she had a stalker who was harassing her and her family. That stalker filed a restraining order against her. So yes, these orders can be weaponized. And speaking of that, here's the fun part.
But what type of order was that?
It's common on YouTube, but the other YouTube aren't raping the people they do call out vids on Lamau.
Thank you for the $7.99, thank you. It just says he filed a request. Yeah, you might be able to get an ex parte, but this one is a more permanent protective order that requires a hearing. Yeah, sometimes you can get an ex parte order that's like bullshit, yes.
It's her. So
and there are obviously even, you know, full protection orders that are bullshit. But just go, oh, anyone can get one of these. No, there's different types, and some of them are easy to get, some of them are not.
Yes, these orders can be weaponized. And
they can be,
that,
yeah.
Here's the fun part.
But no one's saying they can't be. Like, who is saying protective orders can't be weaponized? Civil cases can't be weaponized. Even criminal cases can be weaponized.
I think this was all a coordinated effort against Tectone from multiple streamers. Let's move on to another stupid argument that Pink makes that you would only think is valid if you didn't understand social media. On page 144, Pink says that Tectone destroyed her streaming career when he made his post on November 22nd. Now, personally, I don't know the validity of her claim. She provides no evidence of this outside of saying that's what happened, and she could have just as easily nuked her own Twitch channel to hide evidence that Tectone wasn't actually abusive, since they did a lot of streams together. But nonetheless, she's suggesting that her online career was over and her life was ruined, which is stupid because her primary income is Fansly and OnlyFans. It's stupid because hating on OnlyFans creators only makes them more popular. Everyone who is good at social media knows that. That's why OF chicks go on podcasts like Whatever or Fresh and Fit and say dumb stuff. It's to promote their content.
When you got kicked off of Fresh and Fit the first time, how much money did you make, girl, afterwards? Like, how many...
Fresh and Fit, there's no one that does more for OnlyFans women than Fresh and Fit. You have helped sex workers more than anybody, I think, in the world. You have given us the world. Every time I come on your show, my money goes way up. And then he kicked me off, and then he invited me back on. So
the only bad press that you can get for OnlyFans is being unattractive. People don't care about the morality of a porn star. It's actually kind of a problem because you can inadvertently make the thing more popular by criticizing it. So Pink suggesting that her life was over after a single tweet from Tectone, where, keep in mind, he was defending himself against allegations with no corroborating evidence. It's his right to
think before you sleep, punching holes in his wall, realizing that he's just boosted some bitch's OnlyFans by making a video about her.
To do that. So Pink suggesting that her life was over after that tweet couldn't be further from the truth. She's now more popular than ever and has more social media followers than Tectone between Instagram and TikTok. In fact, don't take my word for it. Take it from Mujin, who said on Twitter, "Let it be known that from this point onward, anyone still caught defending Tectone is purposefully ignoring facts for what is most likely a desperate and pathetic attempt at gaining favor or clout." I mean, maybe, though I'm not sure what facts he was talking about. Note that he said this before the transcript was made available, so real smart of him to not wait until the evidence was public. However, you can see that he is very much on Pink side, and more importantly, you can see him stating here that she makes...
Yeah, like basically any reasonable person is like more on Tectone's side after the transcript's out, so I don't think he really risked much there, but sure.
Significantly more money than Tectone. Weird, because a statement like that makes her look like she's the one who actually has more power, and thus makes her look like the aggressor. But here's the part where things get interesting. Again, you would have to understand social media to recognize this stuff. On this page, page 144, Pink mentions a girl named Morgan, and then she says that she went to Los Angeles to do collabs. I think it was a mistake to say this, because Morgan is almost certainly Morg Pie, a person who Pink has done numerous collabs with.
Not me. That's funny, because I picked that card in a different group, and it was me. But I'm gonna pick one.
Again, she's done a number of collabs with Morg Pie, like this one here at the gym. God, she must edit her photos a lot. I'm not even looking at the same person when she's on video and in a place where she can't cake on makeup. Anyway, there's tons of video evidence of them interacting with each other and tons of tweets and stuff, so this person, Morgan, is almost certainly Morg Pie. Why is that interesting? Well, it's interesting because one of the things that Morg Pie is famous for is helping signal boost false allegations against the YouTubers who run a channel called Super Mega. Turkey Tom made a huge video on it.
Super Mega is a comedy gaming channel with almost 1 million subscribers, run by Matt Watson and Ryan McGee. Over the past 2 years, the channel has found itself mired in endless controversy. However, none would prove as devastating as those levied in July of 2023. That month, a cosplayer named Lex accused Super Mega's channel artist, Dawn, of SA. Matt and Ryan were named for mishandling the situation. This sparked enough backlash for a whole new wave of accusations to surface from former friends.
Yeah, it's actually that they all make the same retarded arguments. Don't you know there's been false allegations before? You can't sue someone for defamation if you don't say their name. You're a retarded pervert, and you should be in prison.
And employees. Lex's outright lies in her own video poisoned the well, and if her initial story about Dom was true, it is severely discredited by the various falsehoods she spread. These falsehoods were supported by her boyfriend, Ethan is online, their friend, Nick is not green, their other friend, Leighton Stollard, Morg Pie, and even Rav. All of these people spread provable lies to smear Super Mega as a brand.
Super Mega was a popular variety channel that had a podcast, and
Didn't
this was
ask,
quite
bro.
the tricky Tom
Did
video.
not fucking
It's kind of like an
ask.
epic set of false allegations. But where Morg Pie plays a role is that she had a crush on one of the owners named Matt. Matt didn't want to pursue a relationship, but they hooked up twice, and then I think Matt chose a different girl over her.
Honestly, I cried for months over that guy. I was like, give me one of your shirts. You know what I mean? So I posted a picture of me wearing the shirt I took of his onto my personal Twitter, not like my big one, but my other one.
Guys,
And he
don't you know Morg Pie lied about her relationship with Matt Watson and said he ghosted her when actually he totally communicated with her, totally reasonably? That must mean that Pinky Chew's lying about her abuse because they're friends. Cool, man. Cool.
me after ghosting me after I asked him if he wanted to hang out again that night. He didn't respond to me asking if he wanted to hang out again. He responded with a screenshot of the post and was like, hey, can you take this down? Like, people have seen me in that shirt, like they know that shirt. Can you just take down this post?
Did you hear the part where she said she made the post on a second account? Kind of like similar to what Pinkchu did. What an odd coincidence. To quickly sum things up, Morgpie became friends with a disgruntled ex-Super Mega employee named Leighton, whose goal was to do whatever he could to ruin their career. Morgpie's purpose was to basically signal boost and give validity to all the provably false things that Leighton was saying about Super Mega. During this time, she also doxes the ex-girlfriend and current girlfriend of one of the owners, and it seems like the doxing was intentional to get back at him for picking another girl over her. Again, these are very familiar circumstances.
So I was just talking about personal details being unnecessarily mentioned and weaponized to make me look worse, and unfortunately more people have jumped on that bandwagon. One of those people being Morgan.
He's really gonna cry about
Morgan,
doxing when he literally did that to Pinkchu at the start of the video.
My current girlfriend's into the situation on stream without her consent. She also name dropped my girlfriend and revealed that we were in a relationship, which was not public information. I'm very private about my relationships, so this was a big blow. Morgan also brought my ex-girlfriend into the picture without her consent and has strongly hurt her because of this. She lied about conversations with my ex-girlfriend. She wrongly stated that I had been having a multiple-month affair with my current girlfriend while I was dating my ex-girlfriend. She also lied about not knowing who my current girlfriend was because she didn't know who that was, and she used it as a segue to name drop her. She also falsely claimed that I was cheating on my current girlfriend, which is not true. They are both being harassed viciously, and their personal lives are being used as weapons to make me look worse, and I think that's completely unacceptable.
And by the way, even though the allegations were false, they still succeeded. Super Mega took a huge hit, and it really hasn't been the same since. Even after Super Mega was exonerated in the eyes of the public. So if you're wondering why people do these tactics and coordinate these ops on Discord and stuff, it's because they work. So where am I going with all this? Well, Pinkchu's official story is that she thought her relationship with Tectone was all consensual until after the breakup and after she confided in a friend who told her that actually she was being abused. And yes, this sounds very much like I consented to sex and then changed my mind later. It's like 2015 college feminist behavior. Anyway, my personal opinion is that the friend who Pinkchu talked to was Morgpie, which is why her name randomly slips in the transcript. And I think the actual reason that Pinkchu was doing all this is because she's mad that Tectone broke up with her, and she's mad that he is with someone else after she clearly was still into him when the relationship ended, based on texts that were shown in courts. And what I mean is that on page 113, after the breakup, before she goes into the mental hospital, she's talking about how much she loves him and says, I'm sorry if I ever hurt you. I'm going to get a full psych evaluation and get some real help. So I've read certain parts of this transcript a lot of times, particularly this part, and here it sounds like the actual story is that she was having regular psychological breakdowns. He got tired of putting up with it, so her going to the mental hospital was like, no wait, I swear I'll change. I would also guess that she was threatening self-harm if he broke up with her, which is why she's saying I'm sorry if I ever hurt you, which again makes her look like the abuser because threatening self-harm is emotional blackmail. Honestly, this visit to the mental hospital looks like some sort of bargain to get him back after the breakup, and I think the actual reason that Pinkchu acted out on social media is because she's pissed off that Tectone moved on to somebody else. Based on the information that I've shown, I don't think this is that much of a stretch. Now pay attention to
Okay, we're through the Super Mega bit. I need to turn it down again.
who Pinkchu's friend Morgpie is friends with. Would it shock you if I said that Hasan Piker is a friend of hers? I don't know how every
Oh my god, dude, it's like they're all coordinated, dude, that must be it. Denims and Mike from PA and Pinky Chew and Mizkif and Hasan, and they're all working together just to bring down Tectone because he's so important. That's what
that
it is,
thing on
man.
social media always relates back to this social circle, but it seems to be the case. Why is that important? Well, Hasan Piker has this ongoing war
Do
with
you think maybe it's
Asmongold.
just not as tight of a social circle as you seem to think, and actually it's just like a bunch of LA streamers and influencers, and they all hang out together and mingle with each other because it's good for business. There's like hundreds of them, if not thousands of them.
Probably because he's mad that Asmon is more famous than him. Hasan likes to sit back and have his little lackeys do all the dirty work for him. This is a famous tactic of his, and he primarily works by not directly saying that he has certain values, but he will signal boost all the people who have the values that he wants to promote by watching their content on his stream. That being said, Tectone is friends with Asmongold. Hasan wants to attack Asmongold in any way that he can, so I think his lackeys came up with a plot to destroy Tectone.
I'm gonna bash my head against a fucking wall, dude. There's literally no way I just can't believe it, man. I cannot believe he's actually trying to argue this. He's actually trying to argue it's a grand conspiracy. All of Hasan's friends 2 years ago came up with this plan to frame Tectone for sexual assault using Pinky Chew, and she's been going through the criminal and civil process to pursue action against Tectone purely for the sake of this court hearing, which then Mizkif is going to send the moderator to take notes down on, and then he's going to go live and smear Tectone. Why does Shamu fit into all of this?
Tectone. They do this a lot. Recently, Girl Hasan and promoter of incest, aka Denims, randomly attacked Emiru for being friends with Asmongold and for not talking about her politics, which was stupid and pointless.
Racist chud.
Yeah, it really is just like every one of these videos just derails into him incoherently rambling about Hasan orbiters.
Friends with Asmongold, Lakari, Tectone, plus she thinks Ethan Klein's lawsuits are justified.
Asmongold's a bad person. Tectone is a bad person.
But going back to Tectone, seeing that Morgpie has already been involved in conspiracy behavior against Super Mega, I don't think it's that unreasonable to say that this tactic is being repeated a lot. Ethan Klein being yet another example of a person who Hasan's social circle has conspired against. So basically the lackeys create the noise, and then Hasan does stuff like signal boost false information about Tectone that was said by Mizkif.
Apparently Mizkif sent like a court reporter to the court to take notes in this process. Then he brought Hasanabi saying like how when he shocked his dog. So apparently he did a right-wing pivot and he thought that but Hasanabi bad would work in a court of law. This is why I always say nobody grifts to the left.
Sorry, that last line wasn't super relevant, but it was so stupid that I had to include it. If you read the court transcript, it was actually Pink Chew's lawyer who brings up that Hasan abuses animals, not Tectone. And the reason it was brought up was because of a retarded counter-argument that Pink Chew's lawyer made about the allegations against Tectone having no effect on how much hate he gets, because he brings up things like Hasan shocking his dog. It was such a stupid part of the transcript because Pink Chew's lawyer is arguing that Pink's pretty direct allegations against Tectone on Twitter.
Dude, he literally just misportrayed that whole section so crazy. The lawyer is pointing out that he was already getting called these things before Pinky Chew went after him. The only thing that Pinky Chew may have added to is the claims that she made, the claims being a rapist, whatever, claims being sexual assaulter. But Tectone is trying to ascribe the pedophile claims and such to her. But that's not the case. The pedophile claims are there because of the gacha games and because he likes lolly and shota porn, because he enjoys that and consumes it, because he's attracted to at least drawn children. I'll leave that there at the very minimum. That's why he gets called a pedophile. And then it gets worse, it gets amplified, because he also does constant far-right signaling. Not just like, I want lower taxes and states' rights. You know, that doesn't exist anymore. We know that doesn't exist anymore. Like, he goes on and just constantly cries about how white people have it rough. How white people are the real minority. That's what Tectone does. And that's what they bring up.
Transcript, it was actually Pink Chew's lawyer who brings up that Hasan abuses animals, not Tectone. And the reason it was brought up was because of a retarded counter-argument that Pink Chew's lawyer made about the allegations against Tectone having no effect on how much hate he gets, because he brings up things like Hasan shocking his dog. It was such a stupid part of the transcript because Pink Chew's lawyer is arguing...
Yeah, just totally misportraying this, totally misportraying it. It's obviously, it's about the fact that he's blaming being called a pedophile on her accusing him of SA and abuse. You can't blame someone for claims being made against you that they didn't make.
That Pink's pretty direct allegations against Tectone on Twitter of one of the most horrific crimes didn't really have an effect on how many threats he gets, because nobody could figure out that she was talking about him, despite numerous people in the comments saying that it was Tectone. But when Tectone could figure out that she was talking...
This is the same segment, by the way, where the judge is talking to Tectone about like how much evidence he's got, and Tectone's like, oh yeah, I only spent 15 minutes looking for stuff, so I don't have anything that's like actually relevant to this. Same segment, by the way.
Talking about him, despite numerous people in the comments saying that it was Tectone. But when Tectone says any random thing about OnlyFans, even when he's showing that he's referencing a different person, it's an immediate threat to Pink Chew's life. So again, I think there's a bigger thing going on here, where a bunch of people are collaborating with Pink Chew to try to destroy Tectone, Morgpie being one of them. By the way,
literally just living in a just prison of his own mind.
Often stupid, so they leave tons of evidence lying around. Here's Mizkif going on a huge tirade during his Tectone video, where he's basically blowing Hasan and the rest of the LA streamer scene.
You attacked Hasan for months, years now, shitting on Hasan, farming so much hate on the guy, acting like he's a problem. You're farming hate on Hasan Piker all fucking day, Frogan, people that are doing shit. You attack Pokimane, Cutie Cinderella.
Wow, yeah, crazy glazing. Crazy glazing. Can we hear that again?
During his Tectone video, where he's basically blowing Hasan and the rest of the LA streamer scene.
You attacked Hasan for months, years now, shitting on Hasan, farming so much hate on the guy.
So that is what Tectone does, even though he's a disgusting piece of shit, yes?
Acting like he's a problem. You're farming hate on Hasan Piker all fucking day, Frogan, people that are doing shit. You attack Pokimane, Cutie Cinderella.
So he didn't really say anything. People are doing shit. I don't even know what that is meant to mean.
I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that these people are talking, especially considering they live in the same area. I mean, Mizkif flat out admits to talking to Pinkchu, but, you know, not out of concern for her well-being.
Yeah, and if any of them have spoken, then they must all be conspiring to lie and make it up. And there's like a whole bunch of people that are just in on this massive grand conspiracy.
To point out that she didn't think it was weird when he shook her hand for too long that one time.
Then me and his ex-girlfriend started to talk, and I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I never ever said that in my fucking life. Why the fuck would I care about that? Like, I did not shake her hand a long time.
You can watch Mizkif for about 60 seconds and easily see that this guy only cares about himself. Personally, I think all of this drama farming for him is just to make people not pay attention to his ex-girlfriend Emiru's allegations, saying that he was pretty abusive.
After, like, all of that Rust stuff happened was when the other domestic abuse stuff
when we
really
slamming doors.
started. He would destroy furniture in front of me. He would throw things in front of me and near me. Destroy walls. Again, you can go see this in some of his VODs in his bedroom. The holes in the wall.
Miami.
There would be times where he was upset at me, and I would go to my stream room and literally lock myself in to get away from him, and he would be banging on the door and screaming at me. At the time, he also would more often do things like if we were driving in the car together, he would be going like 150 miles an hour, and like one time he even said like, well, now we're both gonna die, like threatening to kill both of us.
Interesting story. So we have Mizkif talking to Pinkchu. Well, of course he was talking to Pinkchu because he couldn't have known about the court date and where to send his court reporter to take a bunch of factually inaccurate notes. In fact, this idiot friend of Mizkif's who goes by Axion publicly admits to being invited to the court by Pinkchu.
He knows me. I think he tried to get me kicked out or something. I can only assume, that's not for sure, because the bailiff came over and asked me, "Are you here for her?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah." Did Pink know? I said, "Yeah, she signed me up to be there."
What an idiot to have admitted that. So now we know that Mizkif and Axion's involvement was directly approved by Pinkchu, which is interesting because it seems to be the case that Mizkif has gone on a full-on disinformation campaign against Tectone, where he spread...
Yeah, problem? She doesn't know what the outcome's going to be. Yeah, she wants someone that might be able to report it.
Spreads numerous lies that are easy to disprove if you just look at the court transcript. So now I believe this chick even less. If she was being honest, then she wouldn't have to side with people who constantly make statements of fact that are easy to verify as false. Here's another stupid one that Mizkif said.
Wait, dude, what an insane statement to make. If you associate with people who lie, then you must be lying about everything too. Dude, look at your associates. Tectone. Look at Tectone associates. Nux, Chibi. Dude, it's beyond fucking parody.
To pay all of her attorney fees, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not a small price.
Mizkif, if this is how factually accurate you are in reporting a story, then you should go work for CNN. The fees were around $15,000.
Whoa, mic drop, mic drop.
It's said out loud in the courtroom, so his friend would have heard it. And, you know, you think a guy like Mizkif, who has his own allegations of abuse...
Mostly peaceful but fiery, am I right? Am I right? Dude, this guy's so fucking old and gay. What is going on, man?
...and is saying they aren't true, would be more careful to accurately report information, especially considering that this stuff is so easy to look up. Anyway, Mizkif also graciously leaked his own DMs, showing that he was talking to Mike from PA, another Hasan orbiter, who went on to repeat other bombastic things about Tectone.
So there you have it, chat. Tectone is a rapist. He is a stalker. He's a danger to the community, and he should absolutely 100% be permanently banned from Twitch. And could someone explain to me why he's not been permanently banned from Twitch?
That is real crazy coming from a guy who was trying to get one of his viewers to assassinate a YouTuber he didn't like. Or was him simping over the $5 a month girl the more egregious offense? And last, as far as I've been able to find, I think Denims is a part of this as well, because she was openly saying that it was Tectone being accused of sexual assault before that was public. So personally, in my opinion, I think this whole situation was not because Pink Chew was afraid of Tectone. I think it was a coordinated effort by people who hate Tectone to try to ruin his career. I mean, also, she has no proof that he's abusive outside of her saying he is. And let me elaborate on what I'm talking about. When Emiru accused Miskiff of being abusive, she brought receipts. She had Discord messages and then like a million schizo texts that he sent her after the breakup. Now I'm more likely to believe what she says because she can show documented behavior that supports her accusations. As for Tectone, the only time he mentions Pink Chew is after she accuses him of abuse, and what's really going on here is that she made an allegation with no corroborating evidence. Tectone says that's not true, and now he's getting legally punished for it. It's actually disturbing how often these types of situations...
Is that all he said, or did he keep going on stream, going on massive diatribes about how he was going to destroy her life and nuke her and ruin everything, and how she would never know a normal life again, and... Oh yeah, he did the latter, didn't he? Oh yeah, I remember now.
Happen. I mentioned recently that Turkey Tom was falsely accused by an ex-girlfriend of his in a situation that is strikingly similar to Tectone's, where 4 days after the breakup, she goes on to Kiwi Farms to accuse him of physical abuse, filming without consent, and engaging in weird fetishes.
Recently, I've been accused by an ex-girlfriend, along with an ex-partner, of non-consensually filming sexual encounters, being so rough and inconsiderate during sexual encounters that it bordered on assault, encouraging eating disorders, being into age play, along with a litany of other completely baseless, false accusations.
The reality was that his ex-girlfriend, Rowan, was actively consenting to everything, including being filmed. She had a bunch of creepy fetishes, and she was trying to push Tom into behavior that he didn't want to engage with.
He never asked me. He would just pull out.
Oh my god, and now we're going, it's another fucking 10-minute diatribe about a different allegation.
Or limit into it.
Now, I obviously can't and would never show these videos to anyone, but in them, it's undeniable that she is staring directly into the camera from the moment the video starts. Because the reality is that every single time we recorded, I had explicit permission. Rowan texts me saying, quote, rape thing is so hot. My response to this is, consensual sex is good.
It's funny because Tom sends texts that the FBI is watching. I just want to make sure that we've established that this is all consensual, okay? Somebody knew this was coming.
In the interview, it stated that our breakup took place in December, and that after that she realized how bad it was, and she felt the need to contact Katie, who we're going to get into later.
Gee, where have I heard that one before? If you watch Tom's video on the false allegations against him, it's an incredibly similar story to Tectone's, except I think Tom is a little bit more conscientious about this stuff, and so he made sure to have evidence of his ex openly saying that she would blackmail him if they didn't get back together.
Immediately after I told Rowan that I wanted to break up with her, she began threatening to post about me online.
I'm gonna make it hard for you to ever be in a relationship.
Okay, Rowan, I just want to move on and have my life, and you'll move on and have your life, and we can be in our own corners. We don't have to do damage to each other.
Like, do you think we'll ever be able to see each other?
After the way these conversations have gone today, I really don't think so.
Why?
Because you're like threatening to blackmail me.
I'm not. Well, if you don't come see me, then I will.
You know what's great about all this? Despite that Tom has her recorded saying that she will blackmail him, there really isn't much remedy you can get against someone for false allegations unless you sue them for defamation, which is expensive and hard to prove, and it's why people feel safe in falsely accusing somebody. And then asshats like Hasan will boost the false allegations without critical thought or saying where's the evidence.
By the way, one of your OG slop tuber ops, Turkey Tom, also caught on sexual assault allegation where he physically abused 2 of his exes. This didn't even reach your radar because he's laying low. No, it didn't reach my radar because I have so many fucking ops that have done like sexual assault that I don't even know who the fuck this one is. But that's crazy.
There he is, just agreeing with and validating the allegation with no pushback, despite knowing nothing about it. Luckily, Tom knew the exact way to...
Someone in his chat said something, said, wow, that's crazy. That's barely validating it, dude. Are we serious? Are we serious? Sure, maybe say, I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that's crazy. We're just saying, well, that's crazy. Who gives a fuck, man?
To humiliate his ex for blackmailing him and how to prove his innocence. But for average people, this can be life-destroying, and there's not really much you can do about it. Anyway, let's go to the court decision. Like everyone else, I already knew the results before I read this transcript, and I was still shocked to see this. Based on the testimony and the evidence that's been provided to the court does find that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the applicant is the victim of sexual assault. The court makes the additional finding that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the applicant is the victim of stalking, and will grant a 10-year protective order. The court means the judge, by the way. The judge made this decision. Just to make it clear that this was not a trial by jury. Some additional things. Tectone has to pay $15,000 in lawyer fees to Pink Chew. He can't go anywhere near her. Who cares about that? He obviously doesn't want to go near her. He has lost his right to own a firearm for 10 years, which is nuts considering she didn't really have any evidence that Tectone was dangerous.
Guys, he obviously doesn't want to go near her.
Talk. That's what people will learn. Dead people can talk. That's what people will learn very soon. I know everything, and that's why they fear me, and that's why they try to discredit me. And once again, guys, I'm schizophrenic, and I have a gun.
Thank you, Jimberly. Well, thanks, man.
Fuentes and Kuihman. Many examples here. Stylo.
Thank you for the $5, Jimberly. Thank you. Very generous of you.
Dead people can talk. That's what people will learn very soon. I know everything, and that's why they fear me, and that's why they try to discredit me. And once again, guys, I'm schizophrenic, and I have a gun. I'm a very dangerous man. Dead people...
Wow, why did the court give a protective order to this woman?
And he's not allowed to talk about her, which again is also ridiculous, not because he can't say the name Pink Chew for 10 years, but because of the criteria they consider to be a conversation about Pink Chew. As in, if Tectone ever talks about OnlyFans in a negative light, is he liable for criminal charges? This is insane. Knowing nothing going in, I don't think any reasonable person would have agreed with the judge here. So I started researching on who this person is. Judge Dimple Malhotra. If you go to her website, it basically...
Oh, my god. It's an activist judge. It's an activist judge.
Basically describes her as an activist who started out by working in San Francisco, California. Remember how I said that Austin is the California of Texas? Also this.
It is so incredibly important that we celebrate and embrace diversity. And I think it's just so important even for this courtroom, when people walk into this courtroom.
Dude, really? Some ethnic minority woman thinks diversity is important? Whoa, no way, dude. Well, then you can basically just disregard her entire professional opinion then. Well, you can basically just completely write off her entire professional opinion that she's been, you know, despite her practicing law for multiple decades, apparently. I'm assuming, given her work dates back to the 90s. You can basically just write it all off then, because she's a minority, so diversity matters. Wow, this is like high-level analysis. Sorry, so how hard did your dad bash your fucking head against a cabinet as a child? How annoying were you being to make your dad bash your head against the cabinet that fucking hard as a kid? You've been this annoying your whole life then. That's crazy, bro.
Oh, California. Remember how I said that Austin is the California of Texas? Also this.
It is so incredibly important that we celebrate and embrace diversity. And I think it's just so important even for this courtroom, when people walk into this courtroom and they're from different ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses, to be able to walk in and see someone who looks like me, I think provides a certain level of comfort to them.
An immigrant who grew up in the U.S. with a family environment deeply rooted in Indian culture. Judge Dimple Malhotra is the first and only person of South Asian descent elected to a
Indian
judicial seat in Travis County history. Oh, great. So she's one of those people where we have to focus on their race instead of their qualifications.
You know, oftentimes I think, especially for me, being an immigrant, being a woman of
No,
color,
you can just look at the work. You actually don't have to focus on any of this at all.
Basically, I'm saying the judge is woke. Now, there were a bunch of arguments made
No,
by
we got you.
Pink Shoe's lawyer that didn't really make sense to me. I mean the ones where she brings up Tectone talking about anti-white racism. What does that have to do with this case?
So he's just disconnected to that. Did this guy actually read the transcript, like go through it? Or did he pick random pages? Because you've already mentioned the segment that this is from. Because this is about why he gets so much hate online. And the lawyer says, don't you think part of it might be the fact that you go online banging on about how white people have it so rough? And you kind of sound like a white supremacist sometimes?
What does it have to do with Pink Shoe? Why did Pink Shoe bring up that she's half Mexican? Why are they making arguments that are irrelevant and would clearly make a judge who ran as a Democrat think that Tectone is a racist? Keep in mind that this court case is occurring on January 23rd of 2026, which is during a bunch of anti-ICE riots and after Renee Good died. These are very...
It was in Black History Month. It was in Black...
politically polarized things to bring up that I think aren't relevant to Tectone's case. I'm guessing that maybe Pink Shoe's lawyer did some research on the judge, and maybe this is why Judge Malhotra didn't notice things like Pink Shoe's lawyer victim-blaming Tectone for his abuse as a child in her opening statements. Something that was immediately noticeable to me. I mean, this statement right here very
Wait, what?
Maybe Pink Shoe's lawyer did some research on the judge, and maybe this is why Judge Malhotra didn't notice things like Pink Shoe's lawyer victim-blaming Tectone for his abuse as a child in her opening statements. Something that was immediately noticeable.
That wasn't about the abuse of a child.
To me. I mean, this statement right here very...
Dude, he's saying this is victim blaming for his abuse as a child. That's not what this is at all. That's not what this is at all. It's just them talking about how they don't have actual sex. And Tectone says, it's because I was raped as a kid. Where is the victim blaming? Where is the victim blaming?
Tectone for his abuse as a child in her opening statements. Something that was immediately...
Dude, TBYS gone woke? He's gone woke?
To me. I mean, this statement right here very much makes it seem like Pink Shoe was trying to use shame to force Tectone into sex acts that he was uncomfortable with because of his childhood trauma. Wouldn't it be ironic if that were the case?
Because you spent your career doing domestic violence cases and you have a background, some might think that it would be hard for you to be impartial as the judge. Right. So how do you maintain your impartiality?
As a prosecutor, I took an oath to seek justice, not conviction. And so people have to remember and that not to say that there aren't prosecutors in the world who are doing the wrong thing. Unfortunately, with every profession, you have people who really shouldn't be in that profession, who are there for the wrong reason. I took an oath as a judge to be fair and impartial.
This is shit you can truly only say if you're mentally disabled. This is a video you can only make with profound autism.
That is also incredibly important. People walking into your courtroom deserve your impartiality and to listen to their side of the story.
That was hard to listen to considering her decision on Tectone's case. How do you stay impartial? That's easy. The answer is she doesn't. Now, this does seem like a random question to ask, so why was it brought up? Well, the answer to that, I think, is a much bigger issue than the diversity stuff from earlier. The answer, I think, is a massive conflict of interest. I believe she was asked that question because a few years prior to this interview, there was an article written on her about how a lawyer got her taken off his case because of her domestic violence activism. Now, I think that trying to stop domestic violence is great. However, I also agree with the defense attorney, Steve Brand, who says that her activism makes her biased towards alleged victims, and there's no way he could win a case with her as a judge. He also kind of recommends that every defense lawyer should be filing a motion to remove her from their case. And personally, after reading the transcript of Tectone's hearing, I agree. And in my armchair internet lawyer opinion with 2020 hindsight, Tectone's lawyer should have gotten Judge Dimple removed and gone with somebody else. I'm curious how many other people like Tectone she's done this to, where the accuser has no corroborating evidence, mixed in with strong counter evidence against her story.
A lot of people don't know that there's a huge intersection between gun violence and domestic violence. All the studies that have been done show us that over half of the cases where there have been mass shootings, the mass shooter has had a history of domestic violence.
Did I hear that correctly? Is this why Tectone has to be treated like a felon for something that...
Dude, problem? Wait, what? What's the problem with that statement? And hello?
Dead people can talk. That's what people will learn very soon. I know everything, and that's why they fear me, and that's why they try to discredit me. And once again, guys, I'm schizophrenic and I have a gun. I'm a very dangerous man.
That after reading the transcript, I don't think he did. It looks like she's on some sort of anti-gun crusade, which is why she took his access to firearms away for a decade. For a decade, when he's a streamer, which puts his life in danger. Has she ever heard of the phrase correlation does not equal causation? What evidence do you have that Tectone's going to crash out and become like a mass shooter or something?
Dead people can talk. That's what people will learn very soon. I know everything, and that's why they fear me, and that's why they try to discredit me. And once again, guys, I'm schizophrenic and I have a gun. I'm a very dangerous man.
Is this why Pink Chu's lawyer tried to associate him with white supremacy? Is it also why Pink Chu's lawyer, immorally in my opinion, pretended to be a medical expert on schizophrenia to frame Tectone as an unmedicated psycho who could break any time?
Dead people can talk. That's what people will learn very soon. I know everything, and that's why they fear me, and that's why they try to discredit me. And once again, guys, I'm schizophrenic and I have a gun. I'm a very dangerous man.
By the way, Tectone got re-diagnosed, and he doesn't have schizophrenia.
I went to a psychiatrist yesterday.
Well, he should have probably thought about that before he went on stream and repeatedly declared that he has schizophrenia and is likely to kill someone. He should have thought about that. In the same time period that he's going on stream and banging on about how he's going to ruin his ex's life and nuke her and how it's all over for her. He probably should have thought about that. Oh, whoops. Oh, whoops. Lied about having schizophrenia to try and manipulate your girlfriends, and then it turned around and bit you in the ass. It seemed cool online. Oh, whoops. Whoopsie.
Guys, I'm not schizophrenic. The psychiatrist believes the reason why I see things that aren't there, mainly, well, at night, is due to the fact that I got stabbed in my left eye, and my right eye is normal. And so they believe that my eyeballs are causing me to temporarily hallucinate things that aren't there because they're not signaling my brain properly. And what they believe that I have is anxiety with bad vision as well as unresolved childhood trauma. And so I was going to actually try to get medicated. They said I do not require medication.
You have to read the transcript to get to the level of fuck these people that I'm at. Basically what's happened here is that to a judge who appears to be in favor of DEI and appears to be anti-gun, Pink Chu's lawyer framed Tectone as a violent, unmedicated, schizophrenic neo-Nazi. Tectone is also bald, so he might as well be seen as a skinhead.
Dead people can talk. That's what people will learn very soon. I know everything, and that's why they fear me, and that's why they try to discredit me. And once again, guys, I'm schizophrenic and I have a gun. I'm a very dangerous man.
Too. No wonder this trial ended the way it did. This is so messed up, and I don't just think this is a violation of the First and the Second Amendment, but also a violation of the Eighth Amendment against cruel and unusual punishment. It's also clear to me, in my opinion, based on the evidence that I've shown, that a big part of the reason that Pink Chu filed for this protective order is to avoid a defamation lawsuit. Maybe Tectone's biggest mistake here was being openly arrogant around all this during his live stream.
Dude, what?
But it's hard to blame him, because who in the hell would have thought that he would have lost this case based on the evidence in the court transcripts? And you know what the real messed up thing is? Well, I said it already. Pink Chu most likely will not receive any consequences for this, and Tectone will probably not be able to win an appeal because of how appeals court works. The sad truth is that there is very little recourse for victims of false allegations, and if Pink Chu were found to be lying, which, in my opinion, she was, there's basically nothing that you can do outside of suing for defamation, which is incredibly expensive, hard to prove, and Tectone likely would not win a defamation case because the order of protection was granted. Well, if he's even allowed to file a lawsuit like that at this point. On top of that, this horrendous court decision will give protection to people such as Hasan Piker, Denims, Mike from PA, and Miskiff when they call Tectone an abuser, and when they repeatedly lie about the facts of the case.
There was also, and this is confirmed, he had recordings of some of the sexual assaults and his victim in sexually compromising positions and was ordered to delete all of them or else he was going to prison that day. The judge said, if you don't delete them right now, I'm going to put you in prison myself.
This is yet another lie. This did
That's
not
not quite
happen.
what
All
happened. The judge said that if you've got videos, then delete them or I'm going to charge you.
Judge said was to not share explicit content of Pink Chu that was privately filmed. As for Tectone,
no, I believe you to be wrong there, actually. I believe you to be incorrect there. Let me have a look. Where's the closing remarks? Oh, no, fair enough. Yeah, that must be Miskiff misreporting. Because yeah, it is. I'm also gonna order you. This is definitely the paragraph I meant that I was thinking of. I'm also gonna order you. And I don't know that you specifically asked for this, Mr. Locke. But I just said the fucking name like a retard. But you're not to disseminate. Oh wait, no, that's the lie. That's the lie. Whew. We're good. That doesn't need to be censored. We're all fine. We're all fine. But you're not to disseminate or reproduce or share any kind of photographic or electronic or digital media that is a recording of this applicant. I think you know what it is that I'm talking about. It's been referenced many times during this proceeding. That is completely prohibited. Yeah. So it's obviously the implication is that you will get charged there. But yeah, it's not about deleting it, it's about not sharing. So yeah, fair enough. That's Miskiff misreporting again.
On his return to live streaming after a long break, he stated that he wants to respect the court's decision and move on.
I lost the civil case. I did, but I do genuinely want to respect the court's decision. I believe, even though I lost the case, I do believe that this still gets me to where I want to go, which is for all parties.
I don't think he said
to simply move on. That's pretty much all I want, is for everybody to go their separate ways, to be able to move on and find solace and peace in their life. Genuinely.
That's a very kind way to put it. I'd be a lot more mad. I mean, I was furious at the court's decision after.
Wow, yeah, he can say so much else once he's under protective order, right? He's got a lot of other options.
Isn't even my life. But in times like this, I think we can look back on the words of wisdom from Keemstar about it being a stupid idea to date a chick who does OnlyFans. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you.
Do OnlyFans when you met her. He got her to start doing OnlyFans. Fucking retard, dude. Oh my god. This guy's actually the dumbest motherfucker, bro.